First Contact and Misunderstanding. The massive observation deck of the Xerax Collective's flagship, the Celestial Precision, hummed with an air of calculated confidence. Fleet Commander Xerax, a towering crystalline being whose translucent body shifted with intricate geometric patterns, studied the holographic display of a distant solar system. Sector 7 Gamma, primitive colony detected, announced tactical analyst Krill, her mechanical appendages dancing across the quantum interface. Technological assessment. Pre-interstellar civilization. Recommended protocol. Standard acquisition procedure. Xerax's crystalline form rippled with what passed for amusement among the Xerax. Their civilization had conquered hundreds of worlds, each assimilated with mathematical precision. This human colony would be no different, another statistic in their galactic expansion. The planet, designated HC 427, appeared unremarkable. Orbital scans revealed basic infrastructure, mining facilities, agricultural zones, and rudimentary communication networks. The colony, New Horizon, sat on a resource-rich moon orbiting a gas giant, seemingly isolated and vulnerable. Prepare invasion sequence. Xerax commanded. Minimal force required. Estimated conquest time. 72 standard cycles. What the Xerax didn't understand was the nature of human survival, a concept far beyond their comprehension of technological superiority. On New Horizon, Dr. Elena Rodriguez watched the alien ships emerge from fold space with a calmness that belied the situation's gravity. As the colony's chief of adaptive technologies, she had been preparing for this moment, though few believed her warnings. "They're here," she said quietly into her communication device, her voice steady. Around her, the colony's seemingly ordinary workers began to move with a precision that suggested months of secret preparation. Mining drones normally used for asteroid extraction were quietly being reconfigured. Agricultural processing units were being transformed into potential defensive systems. Every piece of technology became a potential weapon. "Initiation Protocol Chameleon," Elena whispered, her fingers dancing across multiple holographic interfaces. The Xerax invasion fleet approached with mathematical perfection. Their ships were masterpieces of engineering, sleek, symmetrical vessels equipped with quantum shielding and energy weaponry that could obliterate most civilizations in minutes. "Targeting systems locked," reported a Xerax tactical drone. "Colony defenses negligible. Commence primary assault." What happened next would become a legend whispered across multiple star systems. As the first energy weapons charged, the New Horizon colony seemed to shift. Mining lasers repositioned. Communication arrays began emitting complex interference patterns. Agricultural processing units transformed their cooling systems into electromagnetic pulse generators. Elena Rodriguez watched and waited, her team of farmers and miners ready to demonstrate that humanity's greatest weapon was never technology, but adaptability. The first shots had not yet been fired, but the real battle was about to begin. A conflict that would challenge everything the Xerax believed about technological supremacy and the nature of survival. "Welcome to New Horizon," Elena said softly, her finger hovering over the final activation sequence. "Let's see how perfect your invasion plans really are." The universe held its breath, unaware that a fundamental shift in galactic power was about to unfold. Unexpected resistance. The first wave of Xerax assault pods descended toward New Horizon's surface with clinical precision. Commander Xerax watched from the flagship, expecting nothing more than a routine planetary subjugation. The colony's defenses appeared laughably primitive. A collection of mining equipment, communication arrays, and what seemed like hastily improvised defensive positions. What the Xerax didn't realize was that every seemingly innocuous piece of equipment was about to become a weapon of unexpected destruction. As the invasion pods breached the upper atmosphere, Dr. Elena Rodriguez activated the first phase of their defense strategy. The colony's massive mining lasers, typically used for carving through asteroid rock, suddenly pivoted. Instead of cutting mineral deposits, they now targeted the incoming invasion vessels. The first laser struck with surgical precision, slicing through an assault pod's quantum shielding. The Xyrax soldiers inside barely had time to register shock before their vessel was effectively bisected. "Impossible," muttered Krill, the tactical analyst, her mechanical appendages freezing mid-motion. "Those are mining tools. They cannot penetrate our shielding." But they just had. On the ground, what appeared to be agricultural workers moved with military-like coordination. John Martinez, a former special operations engineer now working as a colony maintenance supervisor, directed teams that looked more like farmers than soldiers. "Activate electromagnetic disruption," he commanded into his communication device. The colony's communication arrays, which moments ago seemed like simple transmission equipment, began to pulse with carefully modulated energy. Each pulse was designed to exploit microscopic vulnerabilities in the Xyrax's advanced technological systems. Invasion pods began to drop from the sky, their sophisticated navigation systems suddenly rendered useless. Some spiraled out of control, while others made rough landings that left their occupants disoriented. Xyrax watched in growing disbelief as the tactical display transformed from a prediction of certain victory to a chaotic scene of unexpected resistance. "They're using our own technological principles against us," Krill reported, her voice carrying a hint of what almost sounded like respect, if the Xyrax were capable of such an emotion. The colony's defensive strategy was beautifully complex. Agricultural cooling systems became electromagnetic pulse generators. Mining drones were reprogrammed into autonomous defensive units. Communication arrays turned into precision targeting systems. Elena Rodriguez moved between control stations, her team working with a fluidity that suggested months, perhaps years, of preparation. Every system was interconnected, every piece of equipment multifunctional. "They've turned an entire colony into a weapon," Xyrax said, the crystalline structure of their body showing signs of stress fractures. The closest thing to genuine concern their species could express. On the ground, John Martinez watched as the first wave of Xyrax soldiers emerged from their damaged pods. They were imposing, 2.5 meters tall, with exoskeletons that looked more like living technology than traditional armor. But humanity had prepared for this moment. The agricultural fields suddenly came alive. What looked like irrigation systems were actually sophisticated dispersal mechanisms. A fine mist began to spread. A compound developed specifically to interfere with the Xyrax's neural interfaces. Xyrax soldiers found their advanced combat systems experiencing cascading failures. Their targeting computers went haywire. Communication networks collapsed. "This isn't a battle," Elena said to herself, watching the tactical displays. "This is re-education." By the time the first hour of invasion had passed, the Xyrax had lost nearly 60% of their initial invasion force. Not through traditional warfare, but through the most human of capabilities. Adaptation, creativity, and the ability to see potential where others saw only limitations. Xyrax's flagship maintained its orbit, but the confidence of total victory had been replaced by a growing sense of uncertainty. The human colony of New Horizon was proving to be something entirely unexpected. This was more than a battle. This was a fundamental challenge to everything the Xyrax understood about technological superiority and strategic warfare. And it was only the beginning. Technological adaptation. In the aftermath of the initial invasion, New Horizon transformed from a simple colony into a crucible of technological innovation. The wreckage of Xyrax invasion pods became something far more valuable than battlefield debris. They became blueprints for humanity's next evolutionary leap. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood in the makeshift research facility, surrounded by equipment cobbled together from mining tools, agricultural systems, and now alien technology. Holographic displays flickered with complex algorithms as her team began the delicate process of reverse engineering. "Look at this," she said to Dr. Marcus Chen, a quantum systems expert who had been working nonstop since the first invasion attempt. "Their neural interface technology is incredible, but it's fundamentally rigid." Marcus nodded, his fingers tracing the intricate circuitry of a damaged Xyrax combat suit. Perfection is their weakness. They've designed systems so precise that they can't adapt when something unexpected happens. The research team worked with a frenetic energy. What the Xyrax saw as their greatest strength, technological perfection, humans saw as an opportunity for innovation. Each captured piece of alien technology was not just studied but reimagined. John Martinez, overseeing the tactical adaptation team, had a different perspective. "We're not trying to copy their technology," he explained to the colony's leadership council. "We're trying to understand how to break it." Across New Horizon, every system began to change. Mining drones that once extracted minerals now became sophisticated communication disruptors. Agricultural processing units were modified to generate complex electromagnetic fields. Even the colony's waste management systems were being transformed into potential defensive mechanisms. In orbit, the remains of the Xyrax invasion fleet provided an unexpected treasure trove. Their quantum communication networks, their shield generators, their propulsion systems, each became a puzzle that humanity was eager to solve. "We're not just defending," Elena told the colony's leadership. "We're preparing to go on the offensive." The first breakthrough came unexpectedly. Dr. Chen discovered that by introducing controlled instability into the Xyrax quantum communication network, they could create cascading system failures. It wasn't about destroying the technology, it was about making it unreliable. "Imagine a communication network that works perfectly 99% of the time," Marcus explained. "But that 1% becomes completely unpredictable. For a civilization that values precision, that's more devastating than any weapon." Back on the Xyrax flagship, Commander Xerax received increasingly disturbing reports. Their invasion pods weren't just defeated. They were being studied, modified, repurposed. It was as if the humans were learning faster than the Xyrax could understand. Krill, the tactical analyst, tried to make sense of the data streams. "They're not just defending," she reported. "They're transforming our technology in ways our predictive models can't comprehend." On New Horizon, the transformation continued. The colony that was once a simple mining settlement was becoming something else entirely. A forge of technological adaptation, a place where the rules of technological warfare were being rewritten. John Martinez oversaw the deployment of the first hybrid systems. A communication array that looked like a standard transmission tower could now generate targeted electromagnetic pulses. A mining laser could become a precision targeting system in seconds. "We're not building weapons," John told his team. "We're building flexibility." The Xyrax had come expecting a simple conquest. Instead, they had awakened something far more dangerous, a species that saw technology not as a fixed system, but as a constantly evolving tool. As the first phase of technological adaptation came to a close, New Horizon was no longer just a colony. It was a beacon of human innovation, a place where the impossible was just another problem waiting to be solved. And the Xyrax were about to learn that humanity's greatest weapon was not technology, but the ability to reimagine it. The turning point. The galaxy watched in collective amazement as the conflict between the Xyrax collective and the human colony of New Horizon evolved. What had started as a seemingly one-sided invasion had transformed into a complex chess match of technological innovation and strategic warfare. Admiral Recruitment Center on Earth now buzzed with an energy unlike anything in human military history. The success of New Horizon had changed everything. Young recruits no longer saw military service as a traditional career. It was now a path of technological innovation and strategic creativity. Dr. Elena Rodriguez had become more than just a colony scientist. She was now a key strategic advisor to Earth's Unified Defense Command. Her team's research on Xyrax technology had opened doors nobody thought possible. "It's not about matching their technology," Elena explained during a global strategy briefing. "It's about understanding their fundamental weakness, their inability to adapt." The conflict had spread across multiple star systems, What the Xerax expected to be a swift conquest had turned into a prolonged engagement that challenged everything they knew about warfare. In the Proxima Centauri system, a human fleet demonstration shocked Xerax military strategists. Ships that appeared to be cobbled together from various technological sources performed maneuvers that defied traditional space combat protocols. They jumped in and out of fold space in microsecond bursts, creating a battlefield environment of pure chaos. Commander Xerax watched the tactical displays with growing frustration. Their perfectly calculated invasion strategies were falling apart. Human ships didn't follow any recognizable pattern. They treated technology as a fluid concept, something to be modified, combined, and transformed at a moment's notice. "They're turning our strengths into weaknesses," Krill observed, her mechanical analysis systems struggling to predict human movements. On the ground, human forces had developed hybrid combat systems that merged captured Xerax technology with human ingenuity. Personal shields were modified to work with existing combat systems. Weapons were no longer just tools of destruction but adaptive systems that could change function mid-battle. The Xerax had never encountered an enemy that saw technology as a living, breathing entity. For them, each system was a perfect, immutable design. For humans, technology was a language to be spoken, rewritten, and reimagined. A critical moment came during the Battle of Centauri Prime. The Xerax committed their largest fleet yet, believing they could overwhelm human defenses through sheer technological superiority. Instead, they encountered something entirely unexpected. Quantum destabilization devices, weapons that temporarily disrupted the laws of physics, turned the battlefield into a zone of pure unpredictability. Xerax ships found their most advanced systems rendered useless, their perfect formations dissolving into chaos. John Martinez, now leading Special Adaptive Warfare units, understood the core strategy. "We're not trying to win by their rules," he told his commanders. "We're changing the rules entirely." The psychological impact was perhaps more significant than the military victories. Xerax soldiers, trained in a culture of absolute precision, began to experience something unprecedented: doubt. Their rigid command structures started to show cracks. Some units began to question protocols, to improvise, a concept entirely alien to their civilization. Elena Rodriguez saw this as the true victory. "We're not just fighting a war," she explained. "We're demonstrating the power of adaptability." Earth's Unified Defense Command recognized that this was more than a military conflict. It was a fundamental clash of philosophical approaches to technology, survival, and evolution. As the conflict entered its most critical phase, humanity had transformed from a seemingly primitive species into something far more dangerous. They were not just fighting, they were evolving in real time, turning every challenge into an opportunity for innovation. The Xerax Collective was about to learn a crucial lesson. In the universe of technological warfare, flexibility was the ultimate weapon. Evolutionary revelation. The galaxy held its collective breath as the conflict between humanity and the Xerax Collective reached its critical turning point. What had begun as a simple invasion had transformed into a profound philosophical confrontation that would reshape understanding of technological evolution. Supreme Commander Vexer of the Xerax High Council stood before the assembled leadership, her crystalline form showing unprecedented signs of stress. The once immaculate chamber of the Eternal Spire now seemed to pulse with uncertainty, a feeling entirely foreign to their civilization. "Our technological superiority has become our greatest vulnerability," Vexer reported, her voice resonating with a tone that bordered on what might be described as fear. If the Xerax were capable of such an emotion, the humans had done more than resist. They had fundamentally challenged the core principles of Xerax technological philosophy. Each captured Xerax system became a canvas for human innovation, transformed in ways that the original designers could never have imagined. On Earth, Dr. Elena Rodriguez led a team that had become something more than just scientists or military strategists. They were evolutionary architects, redesigning the very concept of technological adaptation. It's not about the technology itself, Elena explained during a global broadcast that reached every human colony. It's about the willingness to see beyond what something is and imagine what it could become. The hybrid technologies developed from Xerax systems were revolutionary. Quantum communication networks were re-engineered to introduce controlled chaos. Shield generators were modified to become adaptive defense systems that could change properties in milliseconds. Propulsion systems were transformed into tools of unprecedented strategic mobility. John Martinez, now a legendary figure in human military circles, oversaw the deployment of these revolutionary systems. His teams didn't just use technology. They conversed with it, understanding that every system had potential beyond its original design. In the Centauri system, a human fleet demonstration became a turning point. Ships that looked like they were assembled from various technological scraps performed maneuvers that defied conventional understanding of space combat. They moved like living organisms, adapting, shifting, transforming in real time. The Xerax realized they were facing more than a military challenge. This was an existential threat to their entire philosophical approach to technology and evolution. Commander Xerax, once a symbol of Xerax military precision, now found himself in an unprecedented position. The captured human communication intercepts revealed something terrifying. The humans weren't just fighting. They were learning, evolving, transforming at a rate that defied all known scientific principles. They see technology as a living language, Xerax reported to the High Council. Not a fixed system, but a constantly evolving conversation. The conflict had moved beyond traditional warfare. It was now a battle of philosophical approaches to existence itself. The Xerax's pursuit of perfect, immutable systems confronted humanity's celebration of chaos, adaptation, and constant reinvention. In the final strategic confrontation, humanity demonstrated its ultimate strength. Instead of destroying Xerax systems, they transformed them. Captured technologies were not just reverse-engineered but reimagined, turned into something entirely new that respected the original design while completely revolutionizing its potential. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood on the observation deck of the Adaptive Research Station, watching the final strategic simulations. "We're not conquering," she said softly. "We're demonstrating a different path of evolution." The galaxy watched as a fundamental shift occurred. The Xerax Collective, for the first time in their documented history, began to reconsider their approach to technological development. Adaptation was no longer a weakness, it was becoming a strength. As the conflict reached its conclusion, it became clear that this was more than a war. It was a profound lesson in the nature of evolution, technology, and survival. Humanity had not just survived. They had shown the universe a new way of understanding existence itself, where chaos and creativity were the most powerful technologies of all. The story of New Horizon was just beginning.